Hey friends, it's Dimitri with Rubashka Streetwear. Today I'm going to talk about how money works in a clothing brand, and I think you guys are going to really like this because it's going to help you think a lot better on how to spend your money, where to put it, and basically how to invest it so that you can grow your brand and stay on top of things. So basically how it works is that your money goes into essentially like 5 buckets. So the first one is taxes. So when you are selling clothing, obviously you're charging, your state tax or retail tax, whatever taxes are applicable to what you're selling, you have to give that up to the government. The government is getting their cut, and it's not something that you want to fight. And I'm not going to give you tax advice per se, but if you have your LLC and you're selling clothing in person or online, you need to be charging taxes. And look up what laws and what taxes are applicable to your state, or if you're internationally your country, and make sure that you stay on top of those. So essentially, when you are selling a product, some portion of that money is going into taxes, and that's a bucket that has to stay in. Another bucket is overhead. So I have made a video about this in the past. It's an older video kind of describing a huge list of overhead for your clothing brand. This is basically your day-to-day spending, your subscriptions, your rent, buying supplies, all that kind of stuff. And that list can go on and on and on. If you want more information about that video, you can go find it. It's farther down in my videos. That is another bucket where your money is going into. Another huge bucket is inventory. Or if you're manufacturing yourself, you are still getting inventory. You're still getting blanks, and you're still getting screen printing supplies or embroidery thread, all that kind of stuff. So inventory is definitely a huge bucket where your money goes into. Then we have profit. This one is probably, if you're starting a clothing brand, this one's probably all you're thinking about at first. You're like, oh, I'm gonna sell 100 t-shirts and I'm gonna make this much money. And that's kind of where your brain's at. When you start your clothing brand, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna get rich off this, or I'm gonna make it into my business and it's gonna pay me. But that's kind of really small thinking, and that's not where your brain wants to be. You want to be thinking way ahead. And when you're thinking ahead, you're thinking of investment. This one is kind of where I will spend a lot of time discussing it. Where exactly should you be putting your money after you pay all this? So let's say that you sell, 100 t-shirts. So you're paying your taxes with that, you're paying your overhead with that, you are paying the cost of the inventory for that. Then you're left with this. You're left with profit, and profit funnels into investment. So there's a common phrase that you should reinvest your profits into your business, and definitely you should. So you're taking the money from your profits and you're putting it into investments. So what exactly are investments into your brand? Investments are stuff that makes the car go faster. So what does that mean? Imagine your brand and business as a car. What can you put on that car to tune it up, to make it go faster, to make it have better traction on the road, to make sure it doesn't break down, make sure you're putting good fuel and oil in it. So imagine your business as a car, and imagine doing all that stuff. So what makes it go faster? There's basically category investments that you could be putting into your brand. So the first one is back into inventory. Let's say that you sold out of a really popular design. You just have a bunch of people asking you to make it, and you're not operating off a really limited basis, or you kind of have a pseudo limited basis. Let's say that you sold out of all these black tees of this design, but you're going to re-release it in white, so it's still limited, but you are reinvesting that money back into inventory. This is a smart way to obviously get more profit from this, more customers, because obviously those people, if you're reinvesting in inventory and you have a line of people waiting for it, you're going to have a lot of people with money and they're going to hand it to you to get that product. So this is definitely something that you want to do all the time. You want to keep reinvesting into inventory so there will be people that can actually buy stuff. If you have nothing to buy, if customers have nothing to buy, you don't have a business essentially. So that's a big one. And this one is also, so for instance, a smart investment for inventory would be maybe before Black Friday. Let's say you have a lot of sold out products and lots of people are asking for it. That could be a good time to stock up on things. If you want a bunch of customers to come in and purchase all that kind of stuff. Oh, and one other point before we keep going on this list. So all of this is essentially strategy. I also have a video about strategy. It's not necessarily super money focused, but when you are investing back into your brand, this is what you're doing. You're doing the most strategic thing. Another one that you can do is employees. So this one is a big step in your business. You can have kind of informal employees, or you just kind of they're just friends or family, and you don't really have a structured payment system. You don't have that set up with the government and all that kind of stuff, W-2 forms. But employees are important because they can reduce like menial tasks. What I mean by that, there is so many tasks with your clothing brand. Like it could be printing the t-shirts, it could be just cleaning stuff up, it could be folding stuff, packing orders, all that kind of stuff. And you as a business owner, yes, you have to do a lot of that stuff up front when you start a business and during your business, but eventually you want to get to a point where you hand those tasks off and you focus on larger tasks, such as maybe you're the creative director of your brand, so you're focused all in the creative direction. You're focused on all of this, investments, all that kind of stuff. You're focused on growing the brand and not all the small menial tasks that you can train employees to do. So if someone is inspecting and folding hoodies and t-shirts, that's not really like the highest level task for you as a business owner to be preoccupied with forever in your career. If it's possible and as you're growing, you definitely want to hand stuff like that off and train someone to do that. What employees also do is they help with revenue generation. So if you have someone that is creating ads for you and they're doing marketing and they are doing photo shoots that's going to be on your social media, all of that is important because it's going to help you create more money in your brand, get more sales. So if you have an employee that's focused on making more sales in your brand, that's definitely a form of revenue generation. That's important. That's why it could be a very strategic thing for you to hire someone to help you grow your brand and invest in them. Another big investment is equipment. This one is tricky because it often requires a lot of money. If you're buying a huge screen printing press, if you're buying a vinyl printer to make stickers, if you're buying an embroidery machine, those are in the tens of thousands of dollars usually for that kind of stuff. So this one is definitely, you want to make sure that you're making the right moves before you do that, but your profit margin will go up. The reason why is anytime you're making stuff in-house, you're not paying someone to make that because they're taking a bigger cut of it. So equipment is definitely something that you want to think about doing if you're interested in manufacturing yourself. If you're not, it's totally fine. There's a lot of brands that they just do the marketing, the designing, the photography, all the pretty stuff about the brand. Maybe they also even store it in their warehouse, but they're not actually manufacturing it. A lot of businesses are not manufacturing stuff. A lot of businesses in America, they have stuff made overseas and it gets shipped there, and then you resell it, you put your design on it, and that's how the business functions. This one, if you're into manufacturing and equipment, there's just so much knowledge. So you have to be careful about dumping tons of money into that if you're not really geared and detail focused on that, because manufacturing is a whole different ball game that, once you get in it, you'll see why a lot of people are not in it. Another big bucket of money that you could put into is advertising. This one's important because advertising is directly correlated with sales and customers. If you advertise a t-shirt to 1,000,000 people, a certain percentage of those 1,000,000 people are going to buy it, and that's going to be a ton of money back into your brand. So that's definitely something that you might want to think about reinvesting back into advertising and growing your brand that way. Another one is space. This one is both beneficial and dangerous, and I'm going to give you a personal story from this year. So I wanted to expand into a larger space because I wanted to get pieces of equipment to start slowly manufacturing myself. And this year I had a goal. I was like, hey, I'm going to move out of this place and I'm going to rebuild everything, and I'm going to make like these new tables and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get equipment. And I was this close to making one of the worst decisions in my brand, because I was looking at a new space that was bigger, super beautiful, had a loft. And what I didn't do is I didn't look at my current space and rearrange it and make it more efficient, stack stuff better. And I'm glad that I did not I was really, really close to pulling the trigger on getting a new space. And what that would have translated to is it would have made my rent more than double. And that translates to like 12 grand in the year. So I would have been 12 grand in the hole, or that 12 grand would basically not have been spent in all of these other buckets. I'd much rather spend that 12 grand right here than right here, because I did not need this space right now. So what I did was, I remember I was on the phone, I was like calling the people that owned it, and I was emailing people, but for some reason they didn't call me back, so it kind of fell through. And in hindsight, I'm really, really, really glad that didn't happen, because that 12 grand was spent much better into these things. And, I had more revenue this year because we're getting closer to the end of the year. It's on track to do better than last year. And that probably would not have happened if I got that newer warehouse. So what I did instead was I rearranged a lot of stuff in the office. I had a huge cleanup. I built like this desk and everything is modular, it fits really well. And I realized that I have more than enough space to add a couple pieces of equipment in here in my photo room. That is going to be totally rearranged when I'm ready for that. I'm not quite ready for that, but when I will be, that is kind of where like some manufacturing is going to happen. So I can either make stickers or embroider stuff, and I do not need a larger warehouse. Now in the future, will I need one? Definitely. That's definitely going to be something that I am going to be looking into, but I'm going to keep expanding into this space because the rent is just way too good. The location is way too good. I'm right next to the post office. I don't want to let go of the space until I am basically not able to move. So that's the thing about the space though. It is a good investment if it's going to increase your efficiency. So you have to think about that. If it's not increasing your efficiency, don't get it. And I'll explain one thing that I've seen personally on just casually looking around on other brands. A lot of brands get a huge, just an enormous warehouse, and they don't need it. So what happens with that is your overhead is going to shoot up. So with the space, you're going to have more rent. Obviously, that's the big one. You're going to have your utilities are going to skyrocket. So in order to heat or cool, electricity, water, all that kind of stuff, usually with a warehouse, you might be paying fees for like a large dumpster and that kind of stuff. So all of your utilities are going to skyrocket as well when you do that. Your efficiency can go down if you have a space bigger than what you need for. The reason why is because you're going to be doing a lot of walking. So here in this office, everything is really tight. Everything's strategically placed. I have a lot of thought into why everything's here, and I have discussed that in videos. Everything has a specific purpose. There's a reason why there's a ship station in the middle. There's a reason why all the inventory is surrounding my desk. There's a reason why my desk is in the middle of the room and not in a separate room. There's a reason why the stickers are over here and not over here. There's a reason why there's multiple garbage cans everywhere. There's reasons for every single detail in this office because I've thought it through and I'm continually thinking through to make it more and more efficient. It would be a disaster for me to get a humongous space because everything's spread out. You have more walking, utilities are going up, rent's going up. So think small and think appropriate to what you need, not what you want. It's cool to have a huge space. It's not necessarily smart. Your space has to be in proportion to your business. Now, obviously, if you have a really, really large operation, you're manufacturing, you have lots of inventory, yeah, you're gonna need a bigger space. But if you think a little bit smarter, you're gonna want a smaller space and it's gonna be a lot better. Trust me on that. So basically, how this works is with the investments, you're trying to strategically think where you wanna put your money at what times. That's the important thing right here. So where, I don't need this arrow, whoops. And when. That's the important thing. So sometimes it might be smarter for you to invest in an employee rather than inventory right away. It might be smarter to get a piece of equipment before you start advertising. It might be smarter for you to get a larger space before you get more inventory. So that kind of stuff, you have to really think about what you're gonna be doing exactly and when you're gonna be doing it. And if you do that, if you think strategically, you're gonna be basically making your vehicle go faster. This is your goal all the time. With profit, one thing that people do is they extract way too much out of their business and they're not putting enough back in. So with profit, you want to take out as little as possible and you want your investments to be as much as possible. So, and the thing with profit as well, if you extract too much money out of your business, that money is getting taxed, right? Because that's money that you're keeping. If you are getting employees, if you're getting inventory, if you're getting equipment, all of this stuff is write-offs in your business. So you're going to be taxed less on that kind of stuff. And essentially what's going to happen is if you focus on the investments and you do not, so here's my biggest piece of advice. Don't focus on this. Yes, you need to have profit in that, but extract as little as possible for your living needs. You know, to pay your bills, to get your health insurance, to get groceries, all that kind of stuff. Just get the bare minimum that you need and keep putting it in this. This is just so important in order for you to do this. And this way, what's going to happen in the long run is this is going to be huge. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you're going to be able to extract a lot of profit. Maybe you want a bigger house. Maybe you want to get a car or something like that. Maybe you have, you know, just huge legacy plans, or maybe you want to spin all of this off into a new business and do something else. So that's the way you want to think. You want to think about investing and you want to think about making your business, your vehicle go faster by being strategic in these buckets. So yeah, if you got any value out of this video or if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down in the comment section below and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.